We begin tonight with the first indication from the government that parts of the economy could be reopened soon. Treasury CS Ukur Yatani says the government is seeking a formula to ease some restrictions without fueling the further spread of COVID-19. Sam Gituku reports on the delicate balancing act of saving the economy from collapse while keeping the population safe.
When the government on the 23rd of March announced closure of all bars and stoppage of serving of food at restaurants in favor of takeaway services, the aim was to ensure compliance with social distancing requirements. It's been more than a month and several restaurants and eateries have had to either close or downscale their operations. But food is an essential service that is also a source of income for many, and this has got the government thinking.
If the problem continues like this, it's also high time we start thinking on how do we mitigate the economy by not necessarily compromising the health of our people. A time will come when we say, now, okay, we may need to open restaurants, but with certain protocols in place. Like, we still come to the office, but the way we come to the office and we occupy our offices differently from before. Assuming now, these restaurants have a capacity of 20, but now with certain protocol enforcement, suppose reduced to 5, suppose it's reduced to 10, with certain, enforceable plan in place. But these are matters that is being engaged and discussed at other levels, and are going to be considered as second layer of intervention.
It's been 43 days of a spiral down for the economy. Many businesses have shut as employers ponder to lay off their workers or have them proceed on unpaid leave. While the government has announced several measures to cushion businesses and reduced taxation for individuals and businesses, it's been at a cost. The government will lose at least 172 billion shillings following the tax measures passed by Parliament. The National Treasury now admitting that the current budgetary framework is no longer sustainable. As such, development projects worth more than 100 billion shillings will be suspended, with the money therein moved to more urgent interventions. And to fund these and more interventions, CS Yatani says 175 billion shillings will be borrowed from the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund.
And the payment is going to be way, way into the future, with a grace period of close to 15 years, and interest at about 1% or even lower than 1%.
In the meantime, CS Yatani says 43 billion shillings has been incorporated in a supplementary budget that is before Parliament as an urgent intervention. The Cabinet Secretary is saying that so far 6 billion shillings sourced from the World Bank has been sent to the Ministry of Health to finance response measures to the pandemic. A further 540 million shillings has been added to the Ministry of Health, while 620 million shillings from the National Treasury has been sent to the Water Ministry for drilling of at least 90 boreholes in informal settlements to boost supply of water. For a country burdened by a public debt of over 6 trillion shillings and with annual repayments due, CS Yatani says the government would have needed at least 2 years of debt relief for the country to battle the coronavirus pandemic, both economically and as a health challenge. The G20 countries already exempted developing countries from debt servicing until December.
For us, we are not too excited about it because the amount of money that will be paid between now and December is about 60 billion or maybe 70 billion. That's not what we are looking for. The expectation of AU ministers of finance that we have had engagement, and also generally in the developing countries, that will have wanted more time, like 2 years.
The coronavirus pandemic has posed unfamiliar territory for the fiscal planners of the country. And while the government comes up with interventions to forestall an economic collapse, those plans will have to be reviewed every so often for as long as the pandemic remains a moving target. Sam Gituku, Citizen TV, Nairobi.